There. Are we there yet?
It says that we're live, but I'm just waiting for it to come up here. So that way we know we're live.
We have to go through our process, right, Paul?
Exactly. Yeah. All right, we're live. We are live.
We're live?
We're on. Yep.
All right. So hello and welcome to our family out there. I'm here with my good friend Paul Ferrucci and our special guest Neil Thornton. And I'd just like to start by congratulating Paul on another milestone, a birthday today. Happy birthday, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you.
And just also that Paul has been a great friend of mine for the past 5 years. He's a leader, family man, what do you call it? Job optional. He's got several businesses that he operates independently, and he works with me with one. And need I say more? I think just like to take this opportunity to welcome Paul and hand this over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate the birthday wishes. I can't believe I'm 38. I was telling the kids yesterday, I was like, I'm 28 now. And I'm like, wait a sec. No, I'm 38. Like, what happened to that decade? But
let's break in the song. Let's just do like a
happy birthday.
No.
This is the birthday edition. This is the first Let's Talk birthday edition.
There we go.
All right, everybody, just you don't have to worry about sending me gifts or anything like that. No.
Calm down.
Food. If you know, for me, I love food. Actually, I called 2 places today to try to order food for my birthday. 4 Brothers in Niagara Falls, my favorite. I love their food. Great restaurant. Yeah. And they're not open because of COVID. They're not open today. So I moved my birthday to Thursday. I'm waiting to Thursday so that way I can actually get my veal parm on Thursday. So, but
I love it.
What are you going to do? I know right now it's crazy, right? Restaurants are really. I hopefully soon they can get back open so we can go out and eat. But anyway. Let's introduce our speaker tonight. I'm super excited to have Neil on here. I've known Neil actually for many years. I've watched him from a distance and then got, I think actually it was Richard Canavanchu, friends of both of ours, where we first grabbed coffee together. And he introduced us and we've stayed connected. And, I in the past, we used to go for breakfast when it was legal and it was nice. And got to know each other, and I've sort of followed you and we've kept to know each other. And, here you are now, writing your second book, which is an awesome, to be able to write a book is an opportunity and it's a privilege because that means there's wisdom inside that you want to share with people. And that's why I was excited to have you on here, because I know that you are a man of wisdom and character, and you spent many, many, many years leading people in the world of leadership with the Dale Carnegie and all the stuff that you've done. And you're very well known in the world as a guy that is a leader of leaders, because it's one thing to become a leader, but it's another thing to start developing leaders. And you've spent your life doing that. So I'm excited to hear from you today, and I'm excited to hear your story. And really, let's start with that. I love if you would share a little bit about what got you into the world of leadership and what sort of got you started there.
Well, it's thanks, Paul. I'm happy birthday Thursday, like 2 days from now.
Yeah, we're gonna push it. We're gonna push
Tom, I've known Tom for years. It's good to see Tom.
Thank you.
I'm a university graduate, right? So, we've gone through that post-secondary, and then you get into the corporate world, and I got into the corporate world in Toronto, and then, I moved up. I moved up the leadership ladder, the management ladder. I got moved out to Vancouver, and my wife and I were married, and the first move that we made was to Vancouver. But the company I worked for at the time, we moved people overseas. It was called Movers International. And we would relocate the Queen. That was the level of quality that this company engaged in. And they called me and they said, we want you to take a Dale Carnegie course. And I, first, like right off the bat, typical university kid that, full of pea and vinegar. And I'm like, I don't know if I need a public speaking course. I'm already pretty good. But our HR director, Darlene Hassel at the time, said, no, we put all our managers through it. And I said, okay, I'll take it. And I went through it and I really enjoyed it. And it was very life-changing for a number of reasons. The main reason was because I thought I was better than using the tools. I was young and ego, and I had lost everything. In Vancouver, we moved back to Ontario with just a few $1,000s in the bank. and a 2-year-old. And then I was in a hotel room in Big Timber, Montana, and my wife she brought this book over. She brought this, not this actual book, but this is the 1935 version of How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is the most downloaded book on the internet today.
You got that one when you took the course, right?
No, a friend of mine found this in his grandmother's basement. This is like an original version.
That's what I mean, in 1935 when you took the course.
Yeah, well, I'm aging well. But Andrea said, why don't you read this book? And I did. And it was all about leadership and Paul, the stuff that you've always talked about, but dealing with people and gaining cooperation, and don't criticize, condemn, or complain, and arouse eager wants. And as I drilled into it, I came back to Ontario and I approached the Dale Carnegie Group in Canada, and I wanted to be an instructor. And I can tell you the training that I went through to instruct and then also train fellow Dale Carnegie licensees made my master's at Waterloo look like a watercolor class. It was the psychology of self-development. And for 10 years, you guys, that's how you guys know me. That's how I met Big Richard Canavichu and all those guys. Is I ran Dale Carnegie programs for corporate teams in Niagara for 10 years. And we were the top business producing course in the world for Dale Carnegie because we made it very business focused. We made it very teams, and it wasn't just about self-improvement. It wasn't just about motivation. It was about communications and the speed of business and leading change, which is a really big part of what I'm writing about now. And then I did that for 10 years. And then I always had the Thornton Group, which is my own business. And I realized very quickly the power of being an entrepreneur. And on my way home today, I was talking to a CEO who she's just left her job. And she's looking for something to do. And I said, well, now it's time for you to finally open your own consulting business. And she came alive on the phone. So I think, Paul, what I've always appreciated about you is you kind of take control of your future. And you don't listen to the naysayers and the critics and cynics and the stands. You've always been about action. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for right now is reprogramming, refocus, reinvention, pivoting, like this is the big word.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are saying right now, like, what's next for me? And I think that's a good question for everybody, anybody really.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think right now, a lot of people, the question is what's next, but it's like, where do we go? The world has changed so much.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about that. It has changed so much in such a short period of time because, you know, and it just keeps going that way. Right. We were talking about, you know, cybersecurity and protecting yourself on the internet or even everything like that. There's so many doors. It's because it's unfamiliar for so many people, where a few people can get good at it, whether it's moral, legal, ethical, and they're going down paths. And we were saying, I was out at our trailer sitting around the bonfire and wasn't even drinking. And in the sky, I see these string of lights coming by, you know, way up in the sky. We're like, what? This is aliens? What's going on? And then I remembered, because I follow Elon Musk, I'm like, these are those new satellites they're putting up for internet, right? And it's just crazy. And you know what's funny is the younger generation. Oh my gosh, I sound really old saying that. But the younger generation, I know. My kids, you know what my kids said? Here we're seeing this phenomenon. Right. And I'm like, this is the new internet Elon Musk putting up. They're like, perfect. Let's subscribe to that because our internet's too slow. And here we have fiber, fastest internet. They're like, they don't care about the phenomenon. They're like, faster internet. Perfect. And that's the world we live in today. Things are changing. What do we do next? And you know, what you do is you learn from people who are further down the path. That's leadership. That's why we read books. That's why we listen to audios. Most people that I try to sell a book to or promote a book to, they're like, I can get that for free online. And free information is the most expensive thing you'll ever get because it'll keep robbing from you. And, so, you know, go ahead, Tom, sorry.
So what you're talking about there with change and like we're in a situation where everything's changing and people are in a position now where they're looking at, well, what do I need to do? Do I need to change? Businesses are at a point where they have to change to survive. And so really the question comes to my mind is Neil, how do you deal with change?
But yeah, change is constant. So this is not the first time this has happened to us. Look at what Uber did to the taxi business, what Netflix did to Blockbuster, what Walmart did to Sears, and then Amazon's now doing to Walmart. Now,
Yes.
Paul, you're correct. This change is exponential. Most of us are only learning incrementally. So if you're only learning incrementally, the pace of change will outset you. So you'll wake up one day wonderfully equipped for a world that no longer exists for you. And I think what I've been finding in my work, the psychology of what I do, it's not what happens to us that matters, it's how we react to it. And I can tell you there are people prospering right now because they're seeing what possibilities exist. See, through this pandemic, there's two things that don't stop. Time. Paul, it's your birthday. You can't stop that. Time is going, whether you like it or not, and your brand. So, Tom, you now know the world of technology from a branding perspective is everybody now knows everything about you before they meet you. So if you want to be in the business world or in the writing world or even in just the leadership world, it's now you have incredible platforms online to dialogue, to create content. We were laughing a little bit early before we came on, but it's been a really neat concept. As I've been talking to startups and I say, well, if I asked you to come speak to McMaster University, our graduating class in September, you have 1 hour, what would you talk about? And it gets people thinking. But I think where this starts is the moment people wake up. And this is this kind of stuff, right? Like Think and Grow Rich and the Buddha, Napoleon Hill, Og Mandino, Earl Nightingale, like the classics. This isn't new world stuff. Like this is classic stuff. But most people wake up every morning and they see lack. They see what they don't have. And Emerson and Thoreau talked about lack. And they see stress. Well, here's stress. Man's search for meaning. Yeah. This gentleman survived Auschwitz, watched his family perish. Yeah. Right? But that's stress. When you're lying naked on a freezing stainless steel table and you make the decision, the only thing they can't take from you is your choice. And he creates logotherapy. And he wrote it after Emerson and Thoreau wrote Transcendentalism. This all starts with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. The Buddha said that. So most people, if they wake up and they see what they don't have, then they live their day trying to fill that gap of making problems go away. But I can tell you, the people right now who are deciding to take a stance against this, they wake up and they see an affirmation or a declaration. They've got cards around their house with like goals. And I think, behind you, Paul, it's a blue and white book called The Eighth Habit. And that was Covey who wrote about the eighth habit is find your inner voice. Now, he took 300 pages to write Find Your Inner Voice. But I think that's what people are looking for right now is if you don't like change, you like your relevancy even less. That was Tom Peters. Yep. I think change is constant, but there's three things you need to drive change. You need vision, which is a clear picture of where we're going. And if you've interviewed anybody in the financial world, they'll tell you how hard it is right now for people to picture their retirement because they can't afford it. But it's a hard thing to do is to picture what you want to bring into existence. So most people live their days trying to make something go away. So they find themselves just in competing problem-solving patterns. So a lot of this is patterns of our thinking. It's really interesting.
And change doesn't come at the same time for everybody. I saw a marketing thing, and I don't know exactly word for word what it was, but they talked about the early adopters, and then there's the mass, and then there's the late adopters. And when you're marketing, you don't necessarily want to market to the early adopters. You want to market to the masses, but they're not ready to move until the early adopters are saying, "Oh, this is awesome," and gradually they come on board.
Right.
And it's like same thing with people changing and the situation. Everybody's looking at it, and the successful people and the people that are going to be ahead of the curve are those early adopters who are open to change, and then eventually people will come along with it. It's not that they're not going to change, but they just might be a little bit slower and maybe not get as far ahead in life.
Well, you can't do it alone, Tom. The ego.
Yes.
So, Eckhart Tolle said ego and awareness cannot coexist. And the one thing that Paul has always taught me was Mastermind, which is, it's from Think and Grow Rich, the chapter in the book. But when you surround yourself with people who think differently than you, they're smarter than you, they challenge your thinking. I think that's the impetus. Right now, a lot of people are isolated and a lot of people don't know what to do. Well, you start to surround yourself with guys like yourselves that say, have you ever thought about this? Have you ever considered that? Well, you'd be really good at this. Or, well, now's a great opportunity for you to do that business that you've always thought about.
And I think that's the whole reason we're here, and we're here with you today is to help people with surrounding themselves with something that maybe can help them move forward. And even if it just plants a seed, right?
Yeah. Something that Alex DeGenis and I would do talks in high schools, and he does a piece on strengthening a relationship with failure and adversity. And I really think that's the big thing that our next generations are going to need is,
yes,
how do I handle failure? How do I handle that adversity or handle that corporate job where, historically my brother-in-law is a principal, and he talks about this. They used to be called helicopter parents. They dropped their kids off, and then they were called lawnmower parents, and cut a little path. You know what they're called now? Bulldozer parents.
yeah.
They actually come in and like take out a swath of an acre so that their child, their son or daughter, has no adversity.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we love them.
Yeah.
But are we grooming them for three days into a brand new job? They ghost us. They disappear because they didn't realize that, I got to wake up. I actually have to earn a living and work my butt off. And it's an issue right now, especially in business with all of these generations working together. Boomers aren't retiring. They can't afford to.
No.
Xers, millennials, and then the new Gen Zs, right? And if you think the millennials had attention spans of squirrels on crack, wait till you meet these new Gen Zs.
Oh my gosh, exactly.
Like they're the tablet generation. Now they're brilliant because they're wired, they do things. But I was asking at Niagara College in my class, we were doing a session on big data. And that we're now in the big data economy where everything now is being measured. And the younger generation, they're okay with the fact that everywhere they go, they're being measured. Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like everywhere they go, this is like a big tag on your head, right? This was going up with those satellites, Paul. And they're like, that's fine. Everything you do is being watched. Yeah, no problem.
They're good. A good example of that. I have a smoker that's got Wi-Fi and it's wired, and I can control it from my phone. Yeah, I can control it from my phone. And I'm on a forum with different people that have them. And someone said something about, they're watching us because when I called up, they said that I have this many hours on my smoker, and they could tell me when I cooked on it and if I used a certain recipe. So they're gathering data. It's all about that. And it's not so much anymore like Google. That's their business is not you going on a search engine. It's the data that they're gathering and the advertising and marketing that they can sell from that.
Yeah, it's all sales. I work out every morning downstairs, and I have Apple earbuds that are without wires that I work out with, and my phone. And I was downstairs working out. After my workout, the one day, my phone said to me, the past 7 days, you've been listening to your radio too loud. And I read it and I was like, okay, Mom. Right. So then I'm on the floor doing some workout, and I said to my phone, I shouldn't say it right now because you'll screw up all my, that word you say with that, hey, and then that girl's name. And then she starts talking to you. I said that, right. And I said, turn the volume up. And she said, are you sure? It's already pretty loud.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like, okay, I guess now, I went from my mom, then to my wife, now to Siri.
This funny story. I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a member of parliament in the UK that was talking about Syria, and he was saying something, and he said Syria, and his phone said, I'm looking up that information now or whatever. It actually responded while he was in parliament speaking, and it's ingrained, right? But
and I guess there's good and bad about it. Obviously, there really is. But it just shows technology today. We are moving so quickly, and I mean, it's convenience, but sometimes convenience can can become complacency, right? You can get really lazy. You stop forgetting about, whatever it may be, right? I don't have to get up to turn the air conditioning. I don't have to there's so many things that I can just sit on my butt and have someone else do. And that takes away from, right back to where we started, it takes away from leadership. It takes away from actually trying to lead. And that's a question that I sort of want to finish on with all these years that you've been in leadership and you've been in leading people and also helping lead people. Sorry, my baby's crying in the background. He wanted to make his debut here. But something that I'd love to hear is right now, with all the people that you're leading and all the companies that you lead and help, because it's not just companies, it's not just individuals, you have a real broad spectrum of people that you're leading. What would you say right now is their biggest struggle and the way that you're helping them overcome that struggle? And I know I didn't prep you on that question, so and it's a big question, but
I'm ready. Peter Drucker said, culture will eat your strategy for breakfast. So a lot of companies right now have a strategic plan, or they think they do. It might be like a 45-page binder somewhere, which is as useless as an ashtray on a motorcycle. If you can't hang your strategic plan in a one-page frame, it's useless. I'll say it again. If you can't reference your strategic plan on one page, it's useless. But a big part of that strategic plan is vision. And I will tell you that a vision is not a vague platitude that's found in a lobby wall that's called wallpaper, or worse yet, a banner on your website that says something like, "will exceed clients' expectations by offering the highest level of service and quality." That doesn't mean anything. 4 drunk people in Muskoka made that up with a wordsmith, right? A real vision is a computer in every home, Bill Gates. All of human knowledge on a handheld device, Steve Jobs, right? By the end of the 1960s, we put a man on the moon, bring him back alive, JFK. Or I have a dream, Martin Luther King. Like, those are visions. What companies want now is they want that vision that will get them through the next 3 years. So one of the first books I read last year was The Infinite Game, Simon Sinek's new book. I highly recommend it because it's all about perspective. So if you're playing the finite game of quick reactionary decisions, no, we got to do this, no, we got to take care of the pandemic, and you're not going to succeed. The companies that have the bigger perspective, where the vision then pulls the current reality, are the ones who are going to win. But then it's culture. And I say culture because any organization today needs to be a learning organization. If you want half a chance of attracting future talent, which will be your recipe for success, is the talent you're going to attract, you need to be fresh. You need to have a website that taps 3 swipes to any information.
Yeah.
I better see video. I better see 10 written recommendations on your LinkedIn profile before I even give you an interview for any one of my clients. So now what you're doing is, I want to work on my culture. I want to work on my brand. I want a company that looks cool. And it's not that hard. Like, it's getting away from the fact that you've always done it this way. That's the death of business. Start saying to people, what would be possible if? And it starts with listening. Most of us listen from a right or wrong or shouldn't be. So you watch meeting rooms, it's just egos. It's just people going, nah, that's not going to work. Let me tell you why. I'll tell you something. But it's the companies that say, let's have an innovation team that has glasses with tape and white lab coats. They're in the back, they're in the dark, and they come out with the next innovation. And it has to be incorporated quickly. That's what teams are looking for right now. Now, to do that, you have to get yourselves out of the way, which is the hardest thing. It's ego. And get a good coach, like a business coach, like a real coach with thousands and thousands of people they've coached. And they should challenge you, challenge your thinking. I have 3 coaches I use. I walk away from 3 of them sweating, like I'm angry, but their job is to interrupt us. It's called generative coaching. They need to generate new ideas. That means they got to stretch you. But some people don't want to be stretched. I don't know. Maybe it's fear. Maybe they don't want to look vulnerable.
Yeah.
Interesting about that's how it's always been done. And Paul, I think you've told the story about the girl asking her mother why she cut the ends off the ham when she put it in the pot, and she said, "Well, that's just the way it's done."
Always
and
done.
and you know, on and on, investigate further, go to the grandmother, and the grandmother says, well, that's because that's what we had to do to make it fit in the pan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you know, interesting that I think that's what we need to look at. Like, let's stop cutting the ends off the ham and start to make those changes and do what we need to do. Just a little side note on that. My wife and I did some, let's call it canning, a week or two ago, and she started walking me through the process, and I'm thinking, well, that's not an all day thing. And she said, no, it's a huge job. It's all day. Like, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I'm thinking, well, that just doesn't make sense to me. Why don't we try and do it this way? And we're this big discussion. I said, okay, well, if you want to cut the ends off the ham, we'll cut the ends off the ham, but let's just try it this way. And we did, and it was like a couple hours, and it was just that fear of change. And once we stepped into it, it was so much easier to just move forward and get the
Paul,
task done.
you said something earlier that's pretty powerful. Work right now on sales. And when I say that, the definition of sales is the transference of confidence.
Yeah.
We are all in sales. Every day you're selling yourself, your ideas, your innovations, your team, your leadership. And when you get a stronger relationship with, I am in sales, this is exactly what I do, then it's not a bad thing. And that's a distinction I think everybody should take, is it's okay. I want to be better at transferring confidence, and be a speaker, do something like this, talk at a high school, like get out there and just do something that scares you. I always have a quote I've used. Anything that's ever have been any value to me in my business originally scared the heck out of me. And I would say, look right now at what's scaring you, strengthen a relationship with that, choose to attack it, surround yourself with good people, right? Not the critics and cynics in the stands. The world doesn't need another devil's advocate, and you never know enough to be a pessimist. Surround yourself with people who say, I believe in you. I've done it before. Here's some things that have helped me, right? This pandemic, guys, I went back to 2008, the last recession. I'm like, what did I do back then? I worked on reinventing my business. Okay. And I took myself away. I went on a retreat, and I did it last year. I went back and said, what's going to change? Well, virtual meetings. Okay. What can I study? Neil, go back to your body language stuff. Go back to nonverbals. And people love that stuff. They love the fact that they can now read a room just by reading nonverbals. So there's always room to improve your awareness of the impact that you're having on other people and the influence that you have. Don't sell yourself short, but learn to read what's not being said, because you'll hear things you've never heard before, which gives you access to reinventing something new. But letting go of everything you've always ever done, resting on those laurels, you're like a high school football star. Nobody cares, but you keep going back to that because at one time I was great. Well, you're great now, but I think you just admit it. And then you say, okay, well, let me get some steps. You don't know what to do, because if you knew, you'd already be doing it. So there's nothing wrong with you. Go get some help. Surround yourself with a good coach or some good people. Or Richard Canavichu, call that guy. Do you know how many thousands of people he's helped? Paul, he's on the call. He's right down here. Paul, call him and go, hey, Paul, what are some things I could do? Hey, Tom, what would you recommend? What reading would you recommend? And guys, look at what's behind all of us.
Yeah.
Books.
Yep.
There's no shortage of great ideas.
Yeah.
It's the habits of doing great things. That's
and a fear is only a fear until you face it, and then it's gone, right?
I
face our fears.
Right now, I really feel as a world, we've sort of been put in a box, and so many people are in this box right now, and they're scared. They're not planning for tomorrow. They're waiting. Okay, when can we move forward? When can we be free? With no point of doing anything right now, because we don't know we've been put in this box, and not everyone, but a lot of people are in this box. And really, just hearing you speak today, Neil, and and hearing you speak in the past, everything that you say, man, you can tell that you've put your head in the books behind you. It's one thing to stack a whole bunch of books. People are paying for backdrops like this. But when you get on a call right? When people are actually coming in and staging backdrops, when you get on a call, if you're hearing this, if you're listening to Neil, clearly he's reading the books behind. There you go. Exactly. Perfect. Yeah. But you're reading the books behind you because you can push them out. You know what they say. You know how many pages. And I got this quote here yesterday. I posted it to some of my friends, and I won't read it verbatim because I hate reading publicly. But the African impala, right? This animal can jump 10 feet high, which is impeccable, right? I can almost jump 10 feet high, but this is an impala we're talking about here, right? 10 feet high. But if you put them, right, it says here, they could jump 10 feet high and cover the distance of 10 yards. Yet, right, if you put this animal in only 3 feet walls around, they will stay inside. They won't jump out. And here's why. Because if the impala can't see where it's jumping, it will not jump. It stays in there because of fear. Where right now, that's what's happening. We've got these humans that we can really jump 1,000,000 feet high. I feel we've got the power to do whatever we want inside of us. You just need to find that power. And the way you do that is by what you read, what you listen, and who you associate with. And right now.
But you know what though, Paul? Just don't go rhyming through books. I've read thousands of books. I have 2 libraries in this house.
I hear you. Yes.
I've read thousands of books. I'd say there's 20 books I know cover to cover. Like I read a book in an hour because I go looking for what I'm looking for. And when I find like a classic, right? Then you go in and you absorb it, but you read the book to be able to teach it to others.
Exactly.
So you could read a book a week, but if you don't absorb anything, right?
Well, that's a great tool. Yeah, I love Audible, but and when you read a book, I highly recommend highlight, underline. And I know you probably do, because when I go back, I look at a lot of these books in certain sections. They're books that I've read. I can pull that book out. Yeah, I can open it up, and it is gold. When you can go through your highlights and know in an instant, here's the bullet points. But, I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time out today and jumping on here with us. This has been awesome. And I learned so much. And I'm going to rewatch this and just to learn from it, because your wisdom is awesome, because you're a real guy, just like everyone is a real guy or a real girl. But you're also doing the work to have the results that you're getting. And not only that, what I love most is you've helped a lot of people have success. So I appreciate your time a ton. I appreciate your wisdom, and
thank you.
Thank you. So that's awesome. Next month, we've already got a speaker lined up. He's a friend of mine. Actually, I won't say his name. I'll promote another author, actually, from the Niagara region. So we're super excited to continue this program, just to be able to be a bright light in a dark time. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. And I'll pass it over to you, Tom, so you can have us go offline seamlessly.
Will do. Have a great day.